Welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'm going to be doing something that I've been wanting to get around to for a while. Just because I've been trying to get some different things going on the channel, and one thing I haven't been able to get to yet is doing anything with like vintage hardware. I want to do some benchmarking and comparing of some older machines. And the only problem with that is I don't have anything dedicated that I can just set up, plug in, and get running. So we're going to change that today in this video. So my goal for this build I'm doing is basically one thing, and that is to basically benchmark using DOS, AGP, PCI, and hopefully ISA cards. There might be some ISA cards that won't run on this board, or some PCI cards that won't run on this board. Basically, I want one board that I can just use for 16-bit ISA, PCI, and AGP cards. The reason why I want to use DOS is because it's going to be a consistent benchmark with no drivers, no software differences, no driver differences, no variances in DirectX or DirectX issues, or any issues with an operating system. DOS is pretty bog standard, and most of these could have been used in a DOS machine at some point. Anyway, so let's get started. For a motherboard, I kind of have a lot of options. I have a 440BX based slot 1. I have a 3-socket 370 gigabyte that's can take up to 1 gigahertz copper mines. But I want something that's not performance oriented, or something that I have future plans for a future build. So this is actually from BioStar, if I remember correctly, and it's a M6 VCA board. It has a slot 1, which can take up to, I believe, 800 megahertz Pentium 3s. A socket 370, which can only take, I think, 933 megahertz Celerons. And 3 RAM slots, which takes PC133. With the VIA PCI, or PC133 chipset. Not the most powerful board, not the most compatible, but it should run all my AGP up to 4X on my PCI and most of my ISA. The ISA, I'm kind of not 100% certain the ISA slot's actually going to work for what I want to do. But basically, I don't have any future plans for this board. It's a very unusual board. I couldn't find too much information on it. In fact, the only time I could find drivers was just generic drivers. And that was when I actually installed Windows 98 onto this, just so I could figure out what the components were, so I could try and find drivers. And some things I just couldn't find drivers for. And also the other reason why I want to use this is because it has basically everything I'm going to need. Slot 1, the AGP, the PCI, the ISA, 20-pin ATX, which is standard ATX, PS2, keyboard, mouse, USB, which I'm not going to use, I'm not using an operating system, serial, parallel, game port, and audio, which again I'm not going to use because I'm not going to be installing an operating system into this where I would need to use that, but the option's there. Speaking of CPU, I'm going to go with a Pentium 3 processor, which is going to be way overkill for most of the AGP cards I'm going to be testing on this. But it also should be just powerful enough to run all of them without giving it any sort of technical issues. It is specifically it's a 600E Pentium 3. I don't know what the E stands for or anything, but it's a 256K of L2 cache with a 100 megahertz front side bus and 1.65 volt frequency from 1999. So since this board supports it, I'm assuming that this board's from about 2000, 2001. It's kind of weird it only goes up to 800 megahertz Pentium 3, because I think that also came out in 99 also. For RAM, it doesn't need much. Just a single stick of PC100. I think it's 32 gigabyte PC100 RAM. Yes, this board's one PC133, but I don't want any compatibility issues with using a faster RAM stick. It'll still clock it down to 100 megahertz if I did. I just don't want any compatibility issues. For storage, since I'm not going to be using this thing all the time, I don't want to dedicate a hard drive to it. So I'm going to be using a CF to IDE adapter. Since there's no SATA on here, I don't have to worry about SATA drivers. And I'm going to be using this Transcend Compact Flash Industrial Grade 1 gigabyte card. It's overkill. For a video card, I'm going to be going with Redacted. So I'm actually hiding what this is because It's a very interesting video card, and I actually want to do a separate video on this card. I'm just going to use this to test the output because I'm going to be doing the DOS benchmarks on this basically right after I get done building this machine. So let's just get started and get building. Before I do, the case. Just a generic bog standard budget MATX case from circa, I don't know, 2001, 2003, somewhere around there. Really cheap, basic, you know, 1/2 inch or 5 1/4 bay drives, 2 of them, 2 3.5 inch drives, a bunch of hard drives, and a built-in, what are you? 350 watt power supply, more than powerful enough to run this thing. And actually, I have no other use for these. I picked up like 5 or 6 of these like mid 2000s MATX cases. I don't have that much use for them. So I'm just gonna use them for little builds like this. So let's just get the build. See what happens. Okay, first things first. Plug in the fan. That's a horrible spot for a fan. There we go. I'm not worried about locking tabs on this because if I ever need to swap this out in case this is too powerful, I do have a 433 megahertz Celeron, but it runs at 66 megahertz frontside bus. Our single stick of RAM. Voila! I hate these cheap cases. Get these installed now while I'm thinking about it. Okay. Probably should put a disclaimer. If you're a PC builder, avert your eyes. Because I'm doing this way wrong. Okay. I don't need any of... Oh. I didn't notice there was a front fan. Should I even just hook it up? I mean, one of those why not things. There's a header right there. Got to keep this hot hardware cool, you know. Yeah, just shove all the cables I don't need out of the way. Except for power. I need power. Oh, I need this one though. Okay, and the floppy connector. You know, I never knew this was what this was called. I always called it floppy connector. Apparently it's called the Berg connector. Like, I knew that was Molex. But I think now they just call that peripheral. But yeah, floppy. Ta-da! And now for the video card, which will be all installed. Do I have a side panel for this case? I don't remember. Oh, I do. I do. It even has a neat little like shroud to direct air to the CPU. And there we go. A retro PC. Kinda. It's just for benchmarking stuff. I don't care if it looks or correct. Let's test it out. Yay, and my light just burned out. Awesome. Okay, let's see if it works. Oh. Or... All right. We have an image. glare. Okay, so everything's working right. 600E, 32 megahertz. CPU DRAM. Why is that? Okay, so I had to do some diagnosing here. It brought up a screen over here that said CPU speed, but it wasn't doing nothing. I unplugged the front fan, and it came back. So I don't know what's going on. Okay, so it does work. That's awesome. Okay, so this is all the startup menu from that Phil's DOS startup pack does. This is really useful. It's really not useful on a Pentium at all, but it's really more useful for like 486, 36, and older DOS machines for expanded memory plus mouse support, CD-ROM driver. Because some DOS games have issues apparently with different memory types, so what'll work with expanded won't work with extended. What works with conventional won't work with either one. It's weird. So we're just going to bypass all that. And we're going to go to directory. So I have DOS installed. I have driver. I don't remember what's in drivers right now. But I have the benchmark, and then I have the pack, which is the previous startup menu. So I'm going to go to... And in this directory is the DOS bench, and then marks. This is the individual benching. So, you know, I'm going to do a whole video on this much later. So here we have all the benchmarking stuff. These 6 here basically test, these 2 test CPU if I remember correctly, and then 3, 4, 5, 6 are the GPU. Doom Max Details Quake Titan Demo at different resolutions to really push your system to its limits. And then we have like things like Top Bench, system information, which tells like just generic information. A lot of the stuff is way too, the Pentium's too powerful for what this machine is capable of, or what this software is capable of. So like, well, here I'll show you. We're gonna go back to DOS. I want to go to, oops. Because if I just go to Top Bench, it just does a bunch of, like, it just gives me a number. I kind of want to show you what it's doing. So yeah, it says that it's similar to a AMD 5x86 clone with a S3 Verge at 133 megahertz with a 4 megabyte PCI. Yeah, that's what its closest system information is, because it's just, this machine's too powerful for what a lot of these benchmarks can do. So I kind of want to do the Quake at the max resolution and just see what it'll do. That's a little dim, and I can't tell if it's from the monitor or from the... I'll have to adjust that later. But yeah, it's running Doom or Quake just fine. Okay, so it says I'm getting 18.6 frames per second. I don't know if that's right. So yeah, just a real quick video of building a test bench. And like I said, this is just for running DOS. benchmarks on AGP PCI cards just to give me a baseline for all the cards I do have in my hoard. I do want to clarify something real quick because I know somebody's going to ask, why don't I run Windows 95 or Windows 98, run 3D Mark, run, whatever. I spent, and I'm not kidding by this, about a week and a half straight on this between 3 boards. This ASUS P4V533MX, and I can't find the third board right now. I'll have to look for it. But basically, I tried both of these boards. I installed Windows 95 onto both of them. I've installed Windows 98 onto both of them. I've ran them in almost every configuration with CPUs I have. This one had all the way down from my the 233 megahertz out of my Windows 95 gaming PC that I built earlier in the channel, all the way up to a 850 megahertz Pentium 3. All my socket 370 Celerons anyway. This one got every socket 478 that would work with it, including all the way up to I think 2.8 gigahertz, all the way down to 1.5. Pentium 4s, all RAM configurations, all video cards I could try. I could not get 3D Mark 99, 2000, or 2001 to run on any of them. 99 would fail and say that it would need a DirectX 6 video card. 2000 said it needed a DirectX 7 video card. And DirectX 2001, 3D Mark 2001 said that it needed a DirectX 8 compatible video card to run. Now, that's all well and fine, except for the fact that I tried every driver. I tried every version of 3D Mark 99. I reinstalled it, re-downloaded it. I even installed a nearly brand new copy of Windows 98 SE with all the drivers for both boards, because both boards have Direct 98 support. And they were all telling me that the TNT2 Ultra would not run on 3D Mark 99. Which I find that weird because this card came out in 1999. Actually, I think this thing came out in 2000. No, 99. Yeah, the Ultra came out in 99. And it says this is not a DirectX 6 compatible card. It wouldn't run with it. Which I'm fairly certain this is a DirectX 8 compatible card. So yeah, even on hardware from the time, I could not get the 3D Mark hardware or benchmarks to run. And besides with that, I kind of want to build a dedicated machine that's just for running Windows 98 and just for being a Windows 98 capture box. It's a future build. I'm going to spoil that right now. The TNT2 Ultra is going to be involved with that. But for the time being, this is going to be just fine. This is just to give me a benchmark baseline to know where all these AGP and PCI cards run. Even if I have, because I have a PCI variant and a AGP variant of the TNT2 M64. I want to see what those two run side by side, because apparently the AGP should be faster. And possibly ISA cards. I don't know. I think I powered this thing up with I have a Sang Labs ISA card. It didn't want to give me an image, but a Trident card it did. So, and I know the Sang Labs ones works because I tested it on a socket 3 machine. So anyway, yeah. Thank you for watching this video of me building this. A real quick video of me building this Testbench rig. You're going to be seeing it again here really soon because I'm going to be testbenching the aforementioned redacted card here very shortly, so keep an eye out for that. If you have any comments of any video card you want to see me benchmark on this using the DOS benchmarks, if I have it, I will benchmark it because I want to benchmark as many as I can. But yeah, that being said, thanks for watching the video. Put down in the comments if you want to see any cards be benchmarked. Hit the like button if you liked it. Subscribe if you want. Click the notification bell if you want. It helps the channel grow so I can make bigger and better content. And with that being said, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.